Hi, this is Amos Tarfa from Life STEM Academy, which is a branch of the Learning Institute for Excellence. In today's video, I want to talk about Michael Faraday, one of my favorite physicists of all time. I just want to give us some life lessons to ponder about his life. There's a book by Dan Graves called Scientists of Faith, and it actually goes into some detail into Michael Faraday's life. But I want to tell you a few facts you might not know about Faraday, and then I'll wrap it up with some life lessons. Michael Faraday was born in 1791 and lived till about 1867. He was born and lived in poverty. I mean, he had bread that he had to split up for the whole week. I mean, this guy was born into a poor situation. Now, the way his life ended is a little different, right? The Queen of England gave him a residence, essentially. This is how, when you think about the end of his life, that was a different story, which tells you that how you're born or in your condition of birth does not determine the rest of your life. Well, that's a quick side comment. That's not even the main purpose of today's talk. Michael Faraday, few main facts. Number one, he does have a connection to James Clerk Maxwell. James Clerk Maxwell did some work, some equations, came up with some equations to explain some of the things that Michael Faraday did. So those two together, very good combination. They worked. They did a lot of work that advanced fields of physics and so on. So I'll talk about James Clerk Maxwell later. By God's grace, I'm actually writing a book about Maxwell. Maxwell has become one of my favorite people. Leonard Euler is still one of my favorite people, and Maxwell is closely after him. Closely follows after him. So number one. Faraday and James Clerk Maxwell have a connection. If you love math and love equations and love physics, please check out James Clerk Maxwell, Michael Faraday work. Look it up online. I'll provide more videos on that later. One of the main things that Faraday is known for is the electromagnetic induction principle, right? So I'll just read you a little bit of the experiment. Faraday wrapped a thick iron ring with two coils of insulated wire, one on each side of the ring. One coil was connected to a battery and the other to a galvanometer. When the battery circuit was closed, Faraday saw a momentary deflection on the galvanometer. A similar momentary deflection, but in the opposite direction, was seen when the battery circuit was open. This observation led to the discovery that a change in a magnetic field produces an electromotive force and current in a nearby circuit. This phenomenon is called electromagnetic induction, and it was later mathematically modeled by James Clerk Maxwell and came to be known as Faraday's law. I love Maxwell partly because of his humility, which Faraday also had, but it's just interesting to see how these two worked together. Faraday is also known for things like electrolysis, liquefaction of chlorine, electric motor, setting the stage for the transformer, and different pieces of work in physics. There's over 20 things that we can say about Faraday, but this is what's fascinating. Faraday never went to college. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't go to college, right? I've done a lot of work at the college level and graduate level, but I could tell you this. For a person who didn't go to college, how was he able to do a lot of this? Well, here's what's interesting. Faraday had a job as a book binder. He used to bind books, but his employer allowed him to read some of the books as he was binding the books. So a lot of the ones that were science related, Faraday would read those. So a person who was trying to read books that he was supposed to bind or that he was binding, which his employer allowed him to do, was self-taught and gave us some of the greatest discoveries in physics. Wow. He was self-taught. He didn't have Google. He didn't have Wikipedia. But look what he did with what he had. He became so good at what he did. I mean, he would give public lectures, and he started a series called the Christmas Lecture Series. And he did all of this. And the Queen of England, as I said, gave him a residence. Think about that for a second. What can we do with the technology we have today? I know it's summertime in America and a lot of people don't want to talk about education at all, but what if you turned your attention to zoom in on the skills you've been blessed with and work to build them up now with some of the free time that you have? I really think that if we look at Faraday's life and apply the principles that he used, we can see way more students excelling in all areas of life. Let's end with a few things. Faraday actually used to preach at his church. He was a lay preacher at the church that he attended. His conscience he had a strong conscience and belief system, and he was very careful not to do certain things, even if he was capable of doing them using scientific principles. So, for example, they wanted him to make certain poison gases, and he said, no, I'm not going to do that. He had to turn down that request. He used to do Friday lectures, as I said, and he offered children's Christmas lectures. Faraday influenced people like James Joel. He affected people like James Clerk Maxwell. When you read about him, you find out about Lord Kelvin, who we learn about when we talk about cryogenics. And then he was, of course, put in the Royal Institution. He had so many things that he did for us in science. And I just want to encourage us, my friends, there's so much we can do today with the technology we have. And at LifeSTEM Academy, I am trying to, by the grace of God, produce a generation of thinkers like Michael Faraday, like James Clerk Maxwell, like Isaac Newton, like Leonard Euler, people that will be thinkers that change the world for good with the skills and the tools that God has given them. Thank you for watching this video. Feel free to subscribe to the channel as I will be presenting more about other scientists. We will be starting our LifeSTEM Academy program this fall, Mondays and Thursdays. If you want to attend from other states or other countries, you can use the videos online, or you can join our class if you live in the Fargo-Moorhead area. Have a blessed day, and thank you for watching.